I'm really excited to introduce you to today's speaker, Eugenia Oganova. She is a business strategist, a personal transformation expert, a messaging energetics coach with over 20 years of experience. She's self-made millionaire in a personal transformation and business niche, and a best-selling author of 3 books. She's been featured in Fox, NBC, CBS, Brains, MarketWatch, and over 100 other networks. She's all over the place. So she's also not a typical business coach, and this is what I love about her. She's a clairvoyant, and she uses her extraordinary abilities and her spiritual gifts to support her clients, in addition to business and marketing strategies. So welcome, Eugenia. I am so happy to have you on the show, and I can't wait for our audience to learn a little bit more about you.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for having me here.
Absolutely.
Very glad to be here.
So one of the things that really drew me to you, just to let the audience know, is that you do have this beautiful mix of blending your spiritual gifts, and also, as we had a conversation earlier, your masculine and feminine qualities that you get to integrate into the teachings that you do. So I want to hear all about that. And I also would love to hear a little bit about how you came to be an entrepreneur. Like, how did you start out on this crazy journey that you're on?
Yeah, my journey is a little bit unusual because I, in a sense, never have been not an entrepreneur. I've always been an entrepreneur. So being a clairvoyant, I've always had this gift that I used with people. So that means I've seen clients pretty much my whole life. I started seeing clients when I was 14 years old. So from there, my business journey began as an entrepreneur, because that's pretty much me having my own business in a sense, and my own spiritual service to humanity in that way. And no matter what happened in my life, I've always ended up doing it my way. I always joke I'm unemployable. Like, I'm the person who always has to do it my way. I always have to take over whatever it is I'm doing. And I never would do really well in a job. So because of it, I always invented adventures for myself, and I've always made money, and I've always been aligned. And because of that, I realized that, okay, there's something I got here that, as long as I'm aligned and I'm applying this and using my conscious abilities and some business know-how, I'm actually financially progressing very much in a non-linear way. Like, people from outside would look at it and go like, okay, how's that possible? Like, what are you doing? So that ended up slowly kind of going more and more into becoming an entrepreneur for businesses, for coaches, for healers. And that makes sense that these are my people, because that's what I do as well. But the business component, like, I never thought of myself as a business coach before, but it just sort of happened because I would give advice on speaking specific things, or taking specific action versus that action, or utilize something from my own knowledge of business or marketing and helping my client. And all of them, in one way or another, were entrepreneurs. And then they would say like, oh, thank you so much for helping me with my positioning or with my messaging. And I'm like, oh, that's what I'm doing. Like, awesome. I didn't even necessarily know that that's what I was doing years ago. But of course, over time, I've studied more things and applied it more. But yeah, the original entrepreneurship step was not about like, oh, I think I should be an entrepreneur. It's more like I couldn't be anything else. Right. And that just seemed like the way to go, because I get to do my own thing, my own way.
I love it. I love it. And you certainly have done your thing your own way in a very unique, in this very unique path that you've taken. So I wonder if you could speak to that. Like, how did you figure out how to blend all of your gifts into one? Because I think that's a challenge for a lot of entrepreneurs. I know for myself, like I used to compartmentalize my life. Okay, over here I do this, and over here I do this, and then I have my spiritual side over here. But I think now, especially, many people are waking up, we're becoming more conscious, and we're really integrating our whole selves into our business. So I wonder if you could speak about that and how you figured that out.
Yeah, and that's a very good point. It's a very common issue that I see when people come to me to work with me, is that it starts from like, over here, I do my meditation, I do my journaling, I talk to spiritual guides, I do this amazing crystalline something magic thing.
Yes.
Talk to dragons or trees or pets. And over here, well, I do life coaching. Right. Or I do this thing. And it's like, okay, why are they two separate things? Why is it not one thing where all of you is in there. So for me, I started as a transcension mentor. I invented transcension in a sense. It's my method, transcension method. It is a form of self-mastery that allows you to go through the areas of love, the areas of sovereignty, the areas of authority, and the areas of mastery, and then put it all together. So this is what I've myself kind of been living, and then I put it into a system, and I've been utilizing that with my clients for years. And that's what I was saying, that I noticed that a lot of my clients are actually entrepreneurs who are in a spiritual coaching or healing or mentoring or leadership niche. And that I'm advising them, even though I'm using my transcension method, but also on a business strategy and marketing and everything else. So I myself have two sides to me, which is kind of not typical for a person. I have this multidimensional access, and I see non-linear things, and I speak to non-linear entities and so on. So that makes me really odd from the normal perspective. But I'm at the same time super practical person. You can have a normal conversation with me, and if I don't mention the other thing, you wouldn't even know that that's part of my life. So I've always lived with two sides, super practical, efficient. Like efficiency is one of my things. Like I don't like to do things in a long way. I like the straight line and us collapsing the timeline as possible. So my natural personality inclination has always been in this electric sort of masculine direction, but then I have all this quantum energetics feminine stuff that also kind of here, like I was born with it. So I had to blend the two within me. And because I had to learn how to do that and show up without just one side or the other, but kind of integrate it and just own both and be okay with it. I ended up, naturally, whatever we are, we end up teaching others, right? I ended up attracting people who also have, they may be too far on one side or too far on another side, but they recognizing that in their life, they need to blend the two somehow. They need to marry them. Nobody's 50-50 in electric and magnetic, feminine and masculine. That's an illusion that a lot of times people think like, oh, it's equal. No, it's never equal. Some people are much more action and direction oriented. So that's more electric or masculine. Some people are much more feeling and sensation and tuning in oriented, and that's more feminine. One is not better than another. They both are needed, especially if you want to manifest anything on a third dimension. So if somebody's too much on one side, they recognize they're missing a little bit of something on another, right? They're probably afraid of it, and vice versa. And that's part of my superpowers, is that I help unite that, because within me, I have to do that.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's a powerful message. I think that by being able to master both, or maybe not master both equally, like you said, but being able to identify those qualities and bring them into your business is really helpful. So how would that apply to some of the struggles that entrepreneurs face in the areas of like confidence, for example? Like, how would you apply those energies to tap into building someone's confidence, self-worth, and knowing they can do it?
Well, a lot of times I find that people associate confidence with what socially is considered confidence as a societal blueprint. And that would be usually education, or having to prove that you've done something, or having to show results, or having to have some letters after your name or something like that. And then if that's not something necessarily that they have, or sometimes even that does, I mean, I've had some people that's super overeducated and still not confident. The reason for the not having fully that confidence in you is because the confidence is wrongly based. Like the correct anchor point for confidence, this is part of what I teach, is that it's within your soul expertise. It's not within the skills or trainings or whatever you've learned. Those are tools that you can utilize in addition to your soul expertise. But something that is innately yours, that's where the true confidence comes from. So when somebody fully owns whatever it is that they are, kind of unapologetically saying, okay, I dare to be me, and it's awesome, and I'm gonna be a badass, essentially. I'm gonna go out there and show up, and I know I'm of service, I know I care deeply. Well, I let myself do all of that, but I'm not gonna hide, I'm not gonna minimize my intensity. When somebody does that, they are naturally confident. It has nothing to do with Do they always like get it right? No, sometimes they mess up, but they're still confident. Do they always get everything, the way they want it? Of course not. Nobody does, but you can still be confident, because the true confidence carries you through all this human shit and allows you to actually be the being you meant to be in your lifetime.
Yes. Oh, you're speaking to my soul here. This is awesome stuff. You're so right. And I'm probably one of those people that I definitely follow that path for a long time of needing the education, needing to prove myself, because I mean, that's how a lot of us grow up. And, in the United States, at least, like it's all about, getting the right education and going after your dreams, but you have to follow the steps, and it's got to be really challenging for a lot of people. I don't know if you've come across this with the people you work with, of, kind of retraining the way people see themselves, retraining the way they see success in general. So, I know
the world has changed too. Like a lot of things that applied like in a previous century to some degree. I'm sure it applied to like our parents and so on. But in the current world, 21st century is completely different. I mean, every 3 years, like quantum leap. So if you are being yourself, then all this external hurricane, you just flow, you just adjust. It's no big deal. But if you're not being yourself, that's where every change can like collapse one's business, or everything has to be redone or whatever, just because I know some algorithm on YouTube changed. But you don't want to be dependent on all that stuff. I mean, you want to use it appropriately, but you don't want to be dependent on it. And the only way not to is what we're talking about with that, being the self as the anchor point, instead of projecting that anchor point onto something else.
Yes. Yeah. Wow. That's a powerful message. So in addition to the confidence, I know the other two secrets that I want to share with our audience is the ability to have clarity of vision in our businesses and in our lives. And I think you already spoke to that a little bit. It's like getting to know our soul purpose, not just mastering skills, but knowing what our soul reason is. And then courage. And I, pick either one. I don't know if there's anything that speaks to you about the messages or the secrets that you have to help people with those two areas.
Well, let's speak first about the vision part, because that definitely connects to courage, but that's about clarity. So one of the things I always tell my clients is that if you don't know where you're trying to get to, you're never going to get there. So this whole idea of, someday my purpose will be revealed to me, that's not actually how it works. Your purpose is pre-installed in you. It's already there. It's the work is not about looking, searching, seeking, and frantically trying. Because if you're trying to get somewhere, that only shows the universe you're not there yet. Instead, what you actually want to do is remember that whole thing of the purpose, the mission, the meaning of your life, it's pre-installed. You got born with it. It's in there. So the job of you is to uncover it, is to clean up the gook that's in the way, all the conditioning and imprinting and, social norms and whatever else that's limiting true expression and knowing. And that's where the courage part comes in. I call it daring. You have to be the type of a person who dares to dream. We are so conditioned not to do so because of fear of disappointment, because of, what if it doesn't work out? Because what if I state it and then it doesn't happen and I'll be embarrassed or humiliated, and millions of other things. But none of them really matter. What does matter, though, can you even see where you're going? And that's the part where clearing things to get to the core of what you want. A lot of times people know what they don't want really well. And then when you ask them, what do you want? They kind of go like, well, I want, to be safe, or I want to, I don't know, pay off my mortgage, or I want to have 10K months in my business. And it's like, okay, that's nice, but, and then what? Like, let's say if you had millions of dollars coming to you, let's say 2 million, 3 million every single year, and it's just guaranteed it's coming. Then what? What will still be driving your life? Like, it can't be about the money. It can't be about proving that you can do it. It can't be about showing off to somebody, maybe your parents or sister, brother, or whoever, that, yes, I can do it. Like, it can't be any of those things. So when we kind of move all of that off the plate, what's left? For me, what's always left is service. I'm here to serve. Like, that's what drives me. That's when, no matter how hard it gets or whatever, and entrepreneurship is hard at times. When that happens, it's still, I get up in the morning knowing that, okay, somebody's watching me, like somebody's here to get something that I am to deliver. And then I hear like, oh my God, this thing you just said, that's what I needed to hear this month, like, or this just fixed my life. I've never even looked at it from that angle. And I go like, oh yeah, that was my bad day. But for her, I just fixed her life by saying that one thing because I dare to dream and get up in the morning and do it in this way. Even if my human self was saying, oh, it's not working. But my soul saying, you know what, just show up anyway, because somebody is watching. So that's my drive. That's not to say it's every person's drive, but I think that unless we discover that thing that is after all the little things, the mortgage and the business and proving and whatever is done, then what? Right. That does not mean you're going to be multi-millionaire. Not everybody's meant to, just like not everybody's meant to be famous. But being able to stretch there, to just kind of envision it, and then to start looking like what is actually here. That I think is the part of clarity, like I call it quantum clarity. That's the clarity that's actually missing. That's the clarity out of the quantum field of possibilities. It's not anymore the clarity of like, well, I want to, have this course and I want to have this many people in the course. And then we start looking at like, why do you want to have a course? Well, I don't know. And then what do you really want? Well, I really would like to just go deep with a person. Okay, so you actually want to have a one-on-one program. That's a high ticket program, but you're afraid to do it because you don't think you can sell it, or maybe you think you're not good enough. So instead you want to sell a course for $300 because that's what you think you can do. And then they go like, oh my God, you're totally right. And it's like, that's the clarity. Clarity is not about like, what's my next step? That's everybody runs around with that. That's a masculine way of finding clarity. Yes. And, in a big sense, yes, at some point we need to know what's the next step, of course. Yes. But you first have to know where you're going, because the arrow finds the target. If you don't have a target, your arrows are just going to be flying as a wasted energy out into the universe. Yes. And courage is a requirement. That's the daring part. Because if you don't dare to dream and then follow through no matter what,
that's a really important piece.
Whatever it takes, because that's what it takes.
Yes.
Then, yeah.
So it sounds like you're talking about the difference between the doing and the being. And so many entrepreneurs, I think, stay stuck in the ways of doing, of all of the mechanics of things and the analytics and the, and what do I have to do next? But from what you're saying, it sounds like staying in that state of being, like, who do I get to be today? How do I get to show up for my clients, for my family, for the world? Then when you're in that energy, then you're driven by the vision and not just by how do I do this?
Yeah, and it's not just about the difference between the two. It's more about what goes first. So electrical masculine energy of action is a requirement in business if you want to make anything happen in the third dimension, or if you want to get paid. So like, I don't teach my clients to just sit there, meditate, and somehow clients just come to you. Like, no, you got to do the work, and there are plenty of it. But that's not the first thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing that comes after you bead enough that you became the self you need to be, the identity, the authority, the sovereign being that you are fully you, shining into the world. You dreamed up the vision. And then fine, we can minimize the vision a little bit to make it practical. And then we're down to, okay, what's the next step? Or what are the next 5 steps to get to that spot that you just envisioned that's going to get you to the big vision. Yeah. And that's when the action part really does come in, when you might need to learn some tech, or you need to hire a VA, or you need to, reorganize your program or change your pricing. Like, that stuff is just part of business. But that only comes after. And most people put it on the front end thinking that that's what the business is about. And if you try to run the business this way, all it is, it just feels hard. Yes. It's not aligned to your soul design. It's not aligned to who you are. It just feels like, damn, I'm working real hard and I'm not getting as much result. And, I seem to have to now keep working like this, or even work harder to try to get better result. Like, that's a broken strategy. It doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. Do you have a remedy for that?
The remedy for that is to first utilize the quantum creation, as in envision where you want to get to, the daring part. And then once you dream that up, look for who is she or he, who is that person? Like, envision them not just in like whatever, but anything, like what kind of underwear they're wearing, Like, are they still eating the food you're eating? Are they getting up at the same time you're getting up now? Like all the little details that we don't even think have anything to do with business. Envision all of it. And then imagine you take that person that you just kind of made up in all this detail and you overlay it on yourself and see what's the discrepancy, what's the difference between you now and that person.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
It would literally feel like, oh, this person is like so relaxed and I'm like so tense. Or that person is so like, she's breathing right deep like that, right? And I'm like breathing shallow right here. Or maybe it would feel like, you know, if it's a man, let's say he might feel like, well, he's generous. And maybe right now you're kind of stingy because you're in scarcity mode. So like look for what is that sense, feel kind of a discrepancy. So that overlay doesn't need to be long. It could be like 60 seconds. Then you release it into the universe. But now you know what must change. Yes. Because of that discrepancy, it just gave you a clue. That clue usually is not logical. It's not going to be like, oh, he's, you know, calling 20 people. I'm only calling 10. Like, it's not that. It's more like she feels like this, or she just doesn't even think about that, or this issue is like there's a clearer boundary, let's say, than I have about that. So usually it's 1 or 2 or 3 things. It's not 20. It's really a small number. Whatever those sensations you gotten, then your next step is implement them and try to be that as much as possible every moment of your life. And then from that place, go create your material strategies and actions.
Yes.
That's the remedy.
Oh my gosh, this is such a gem, just this one little exercise. And I love things like this because I think these are doable steps that anybody can try on. It's not a long course that you have to learn. It's just a little shift, but it's huge in the results that it can produce. So, wow, thank you for that. I appreciate it. So, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to share with the audience, anything else that's maybe your superpower. And if you could share another little gem with the audience today that's coming to you.
One of the things that I hear a lot is that I can kind of think about it, but it can't happen for me. Like here, I can kind of see how I can make this happen, but this big thing, I don't know how. And it's true that you might not know how, but this is the quantum law, is that if you can envision it, that means it's possible for you. That means it's possible for you in this lifetime. And that means it's possible for you now. So all you need is then the tools and maybe proper coach or whoever that's going to help you activate that within you and so on. But maybe you literally like don't know some business components. Like plenty of people who come to me don't know marketing. Like I hear that a lot, like, oh, no, I hate marketing or whatever. And it's like, it's because you're doing it incorrectly. You're not doing it in a way that's actually matching you. If you do it the right way, then marketing doesn't even feel like marketing. It just feels like you're talking and being yourself. But all that goes right back to, if you can envision it, that means you can make it happen. That's a law. So the tools and how-tos, that's more like, okay, be proactive and don't sit on your tail and do nothing. Like go figure it out, or go hire somebody, or go research, or tune in, journal, something, but be proactive. But the initial part, that it's possible, that connects to what can you pull out of the quantum field of possibilities. In another way of saying it, what can you dream up? What can you envision and dare to make it big enough? And not like fake, not like, oh, and then I'm famous and people like serving me, I don't know, hot chocolate. Like, that's
right.
But any big vision that's actually meant to happen is somehow linked to service. So it's never just about us. Yeah. It's always about us, but also see how other people are benefiting when you're creating your vision. Like, let's say, even if it's something like, okay, I don't have this health condition, or I lose weight, or I don't have anxiety anymore. Okay, how do your clients benefit by you being thinner or lighter, or having more energy, or, not having anxiety? How is other people in your world, like maybe your family members benefit, maybe your pet even, like look at how other beings are being transformed by you choosing that transformation, and then make it bigger and bigger, like, what if it's that? What if it's that? And then at some point you're going to feel like, okay, well, that I don't actually want. Like for me, I never wanted to be famous. I wanted to be known for what I do so I can be helpful, but I never wanted to be famous, and I'm not, and thank God. But there are some people who are naturally like celebrity type who like they meant to be, because that's how they're gonna shine their light the most. They have to be in the fame position. So trust that you're gonna find the direction that's gonna at some point feel like, okay, I'm scared, but it feels right, versus well, I can, but I kind of like don't even care that much. Well, then that's not it. So finding those things and daring to anchor them within you, and then really practicing being that person, and being proactive about finding steps to actually get there. That's how we then can create business and entrepreneurial journey that doesn't have to feel hard. This is how we create this glorified momentum everybody's looking for, as if it's some unicorn in a magical forest and you have to go find it. Like people, momentum is created by aligned action. Do enough of consistent aligned action, you're gonna have momentum. That's how it works.
That's right.
But to do that, you have to do aligned action, not a frantic scarcity-based action out of, I want to prove myself, or I'm not good enough and somehow I don't know what to do. So that's the message, that if you can dream it up, it can happen for you, which means the more you practice the envisioning muscle and daring to be that, whatever the big thing that maybe you right now kind of like, I don't know about that, but you playing that game, almost like how kids play pretend,
Yes.
Imagine, right? And
it's
then
envisioning.
Own it in your body, right? Own that. And then look for, okay, so what's the next step for that? Maybe the next step is to study specific thing. Maybe the next step is hire a mentor or a coach. Maybe the next thing is actually start journaling every day, or tuning into your inner intelligence instead of dismissing it. So steps might be different, but steps only happen after you know where you're going.
That's right. That's right. Beautifully said. Oh my goodness. There's so much wisdom packed into everything you've shared today. And I so appreciate everything that you've offered, from your heart to mine, my heart to yours. Like, it's this beautiful connection too. I've really enjoyed getting to know you in our conversation before and this one. And so I really wish you wild success. Everything that you shared is just spot on. I think it's magic for entrepreneurs that are either starting out or people who are already on the journey. So thank you so much for everything you've shared.
Yeah, you are very welcome. And I would love people to be able to explore this a little bit further. And, if they want, I have some opportunities for them that they can do so. But that's when you scratch the surface, and if the scratch feels good, you gotta explore it. That's kind of my policy, because
I love that. Yes.
Scratch and they don't feel good. You're like, okay. But when you scratch something and it feels like, ooh, there's like depths to dive in. Because even if you don't hire me as your coach, you will still learn tons just by watching a lot of my free materials. And maybe we are meant together if you feel the resonance. So there is a soulstrategywebinar.com. That's where you can get the more kind of a longer version of explanation of what I do in my life journey and the experiences of my clients. And you can kind of see what I'm talking about. This is about how you can get paid well for doing your soul work and get paid high ticket pricing. So how to kind of like uplift yourself to premium level and actually utilize a different way of showing up in the world. So it talks about the new model of conscious coaching that does not require endless course launches or huge lists or anything like that. It talks about how to attract high-end clients by speaking from that soul expertise that we were talking about, that inner place. Yeah, even if you don't consider yourself right now a high-end coach or anything, that's okay. It explains how you can really get there. And it also talks about why this rigid masculine kind of cookie cutter strategies don't work, or probably didn't work for you before, if you like took a lot of courses and they're still sitting unopened in your computer because you just were like, whoa, I don't want this, because it's too tight and too masculine language, and all the lead generation and tripwires and all, like, oh my god, 20-step funnels. None of that is needed. So in that webinar, I'll explain to you pretty much the system that you need instead for your soul work to truly show up in a world. But you really need only a few components. Like most of my clients, we don't have multi-level funnels or all this stuff. All we do is we're clear on what we are, we clear on how to talk about it, we clear on what we deliver and how we deliver it, and then we do 2 or 3 specific things in the marketplace that then bring in specific type of client. So that's a very different way. That's a much more
model.
feminine,
yeah,
but it still utilizes business strategies. So
sure.
kind of like you got to be the person that applies yourself. But that's what you're going to learn in that webinar. So definitely check it out. And
that's a free webinar that you're offering?
It's a free webinar, yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. Okay.
That's a gift. So you can kind of like study different versions, and I go through explaining the whole thing and understanding why it is this way. And also I have my website, Transcension Gate. That's where there's probably 100 pages of free material. So you can watch a lot and just kind of get to know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about quantum energetics for business, messaging energetics for business. That's still utilizing business strategy, but in a feminine way, in a conscious way, and in a way that works for people of consciousness. You don't necessarily have to be a woman, you could be a man, but it's a person that is sensitive enough that they are in alignment with who they are, even if they have wobbles or insecurities or whatever. That's the type of a person that generally would never fit in a traditional business world. So because of it, a lot of times we think that means we can't make money. Well, because I can't be like that, right? But you don't have to be that. You actually can be you. And that's the system that I teach as to how to be you, be in alignment with your soul design, and still bring your gift to the world and actually impact the people you meant to impact. Like that's your message. That's the meaning of your life that you can actually get paid well for.
Oh, I love it. Oh, that's wonderful. And it's such a generous gift that you're offering today. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And all that you do. I just love your messaging. I love your energy. I love what gifts you're bringing to the world. So thank you so much for this interview. And I wish you peace and wild success and anything else that your heart desires. So thank you so much today for sharing with our audience.
Thank you so much for having me here. And I hope this was very much beneficial to hear for a lot of people.
I'm sure
because
it will
it's going to activate some light bulbs there.
I light bulbs went off in my mind. So I know that they're going to be activated in others, because we're all on this journey together, and everything you're speaking to, every entrepreneur is probably nodding like crazy, like, yes, yes, yes. So there's lots of gems here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Peace to you.